Earlier in the league, someone in my Discord linked a video that they had seen on YouTube of some guy playing a Assassin Lightning Conduit bossing build. I took a look at it quickly. It seemed interesting, but I kind of put it in the back of my mind for then. However, just recently here on stream at twitch.tv/BigDucks, which you should go follow by the way, I decided to finally give it a shot, albeit a little bit different. His version was using Mage Blood as well as some other things. I changed around a few separate things to make it a little bit more approachable and not cost well over a mirror, since Mage Blood is insanely expensive right now, but it's using a lot of the same tech that you might have seen on a few different builds. Now my goal here was simple. I wanted to just do as much damage as I reasonably could without spending every single bit of my currency. At the end of the day, we probably are in like the 30 to 50 divine range. A lot of that, probably 20 divine of that, is not really necessary. However, you could keep spending even more and more and more if you wanted to, but the whole purpose here was to see how much damage we could do to Uber bosses. Now, is this build deathless? Absolutely not. Can it do all of the Uber bosses? Absolutely not. It can do quite a few of them. I managed to take down Maven. Searing Exarch is extremely easy. Eater of Worlds is not super easy, but extremely doable. The big problem with him is that, you know, the build cannot tank an attack from him. I was able to do Uber Shaper. Uber Cortex is probably possible, but that fight's quite annoying depending on the mods that you get on the map. However, if you wanted to farm Maven, or you wanted to farm Eater, or you wanted to farm Searing Exarch, this build can absolutely do it. However, it cannot take a hit. It cannot map. It cannot do anything except farm these bosses. But it's honestly pretty cool to do 500 million DPS, and the version that I'm using isn't even doing that much yet. In the path of building, you'll see how it gets up to over 500 million DPS, but my version's probably doing closer to like 250, 300 million that you can see in the clips here. With a little bit more money I could, but honestly buying things at the end of this league right now is painful at best. Boys, I know that you've probably been looking forward to different videos from me, but we tried this out. I had to get this video because I think it's hilarious. It's just an insane amount of damage. This is a pretty stock standard setup when it comes to what you're gonna see here in a moment. You know, a typical Christmas tree build this league. Ralakesh's is really super powerful, along with all of the standard stuff that you've probably seen, but maybe in a little bit of a different package. Now remember, boys, if you're enjoying this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos. Without further ado, let's get into it. So this is the current build. Now, the idea here is that this is using a lot of the standard stuff that you've seen this league. Doriani's is just very easy to scale damage with. We've got 2 rings that are giving us a bunch of minus lightning resistance, makes it super easy to scale all the way up to negative 200 lightning res. We're using a power charge helmet, as well as some mana reservation efficiency to account for some of our auras. We are using Ralakesh's Impatience. As you can see, we are a Christmas tree that makes a bunch of very crazy noises whenever we walk. Probably the biggest downside of this build, besides the fact that it gets one-shot by everything, is the fact that it just makes constant chiming noises every time you move. However, Ralakesh's is pretty powerful, pretty good pair of boots if you're not really moving when you're doing your damage, and this build happens to not really move when it's doing its damage. And then we're using Malachi's Loot because the downside is mostly gone, and Void Battery, of course, to get lots of damage. One change that I made that I saw some people doing over on PoE Ninja is swapping over to Arn's Anguish. I think this is more classic for people who are doing this kind of build. It changes your endurance charges over to brutal charges, which gives you a chance to do minimum damage. And we'll see over on stream, we might be trying to play this as a champion because, you know, doesn't matter what build you make, just swap it to a champion and it's better. Some interesting stuff to do with champion. I'll make a video if that ends up working out. If you want to see me mess around with that, make sure to come hang out on stream. I'll probably be doing that in the next day or two, potentially today, if you are seeing this video right as it comes out. And then beyond that, we got some flasks. Obviously, Bottled Faith is going to be really good for the build. We only need to, like, fight the boss for a couple of seconds, and we only really need to survive for a couple of seconds, so just using a bunch of flasks that have increased effect on them is perfectly fine. Interestingly enough, Rotgut with these boots is pretty solid. So the idea here is that when you use Rotgut, you would think that this needs to consume the frenzy charges to give you the onslaught. However, even though we have 11 minimum charges, when we use the Rotgut, we still get 33 seconds of onslaught, even though it doesn't spend our charges. So it consumes them, but the effect is separate. The gain onslaught for 3 seconds per frenzy charge. So that's pretty cool. 33 seconds of onslaught, not that it really matters very much. I'm just using this flask because I had it in my inventory, and we rolled cast speed on it. We've got this flask right here, just to give us a little bit of armor to maybe survive some lightning stuff. We don't actually survive the lightning stuff. And then a life flask that we just spam whenever we need a little bit of healing. And of course, we're using Relikeshes, we're using Badge of the Brotherhood, all the classic stuff. This uses a ton of cluster jewels. We're using 2 larges and 4 mediums. We're just using a bunch of just random jewels that I rolled with Harvest Crafts. We just got percentage life fractured jewels, and then we rolled them with crit reforge harvests, then got a whole bunch of decent jewels. These are not insane jewels by any means, they're just pretty decent. We're using this Watcher's Eye. There's not a lot like it, but there's not really a lot of good Watcher's Eyes that aren't like 30 or 40 divines, and I kind of wanted to keep the cost as low as I possibly could. Once again, just another random jewel. We are making use of Inner Conviction since we do have minimum of all charges. That means that we have a ton, meaning 3% more spell damage per power charge, and we get the frenzy charges on top of that. So it's an obvious choice to take Inner Conviction. Militant Faith, pretty good. Sacking as many power charges as we can, and there's not really much else going on here. As for the Ascendancy, it is an assassin. However, I am going to be trying out a champion. It should be interesting. I think it does even more damage. Champion, we might be able to hit 1 billion DPS. And if we can, that would be pretty cool. It's been a long time since I've seen a build that can do 1 billion DPS, but to be decided. Pretty classic stuff here, just power charge stacking. And that's pretty much it for the build. Now, the problem, and the thing that I need to let you know about this build in general, is that this cannot do anything except for like Maven, Searing Exarch, and Eater. And it doesn't even do Eater super well. It's kind of a meme build, but if you wanted to farm Uber Maven, if you wanted to farm Uber Exarch, or you wanted to farm Uber Eater, it absolutely can do them. And it's not that much money, realistically. Like, you could spend a decent amount less than even I have, and if we do have the rings next league and, you know, the economy isn't completely dead, it might be relatively cheap to get this going if Lightning Conduit also doesn't get nerfed. When it comes to the abilities, we are using a bunch of auras. We've got Determination, Summon Skitterbots, Zealotry, Petrified Blood. We're using Herald of Thunder to make sure that we are low life, just to squeeze out any tiny little bit of damage that we possibly can in this build, because if we get hit, we die anyways. We're using a Lightning Golem just because, you know, it gives us some cast speed, which is pretty good. I should probably use Flame Dash as my movement skill, but I just had Frostblink sitting around. Because we are using Eldritch Battery, we can use a Divine Blessing Increased Duration Wrath pretty easily. It lasts like 19 seconds. And beyond that, we've got the pretty classic Orb of Storms and Lightning Conduit combo. You can see, like, even my tooltip DPS is 5.6 million on this build. It's honestly kind of insane. You've seen the clips of how much damage it can do. Just understand, if you want to see me play a little bit more of this build and mess around maybe with the champion, come check it out over on stream. The vast majority of you are not going to be able to play this build. It's rather expensive. It's kind of a meme. It dies instantly, but this is some of the most damage that I've ever done. Probably the only build that has done similar damage in my play history was original BFBB back from, like, what, 3.13? That build did some absolutely insane damage, but it was also, like, not, you know, death constantly like this one is. But the champion version might hit a billy, but we'll see about that. And that is going to be it for the video. I want to give a shout out to my patrons. You guys got this build in the POB before everybody else saw this video, so if you're interested in getting these kinds of things early, make sure that you go and subscribe to my Patreon. Or don't, it doesn't really matter. But I do appreciate each and every one of you. You do help make videos like this happen. And beyond that, 1 billion DPS soon, hopefully, on a champion. We'll see. I'm not so sure. But remember, boys, if you're enjoying this content, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos, and stay safe out there in Ray class, and I'll see you guys in the next video.